chip. Let's take it.
Yes, no, race. Yes, no, race.
Hello and welcome to the Thresher Football Show. I'm Dan Page alongside head football coach of Bethel College, A.B. Stokes. Bethel College going into their fourth game of the season. Coach, you feeling good? I mean, you kind of have to have a good perspective going forward, don't you?
Well, I just gave a thumbs up. You know, it's just what my son used to do that when he wrestled. And if things didn't go his way, he'd just look over at me. I said, "You all right?" And he'd just go.
I had this thing.
Give a thumbs up.
I had this thing when I was a kid when they would do those pictures of you as an athlete, and then they do an individual and then your team in the same kind of rectangle thing.
Yeah. Yep.
And I would always have my thumb up for some reason, and I was playing like youth soccer and stuff like that. So it became a thing, and then I think the last time I did it was like middle school or something like that. So welcome to the show, by the way. Welcome to the Thresher Football Show. We're laughing because we would rather focus on that than the 28-24 loss this last Saturday to Ottawa. A lot of things happening in that game, and we definitely want to move on from it, everybody.
But we got to talk about it.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah, so 28-24. You guys were up 17-7 at halftime, and then Ottawa's defense held you guys just at one touchdown in the second half. And, so many things happened. You can't cite one thing, I think, that really just, I don't know what the right word is, Coach. I mean, that ended up with the loss in the end.
Fell apart.
There's so many different things you can think about, so many things that different people have pointed out, and honestly, it's not one specific thing, is it?
No, and at the end of the day, you can sit there and point, or you can look ahead. Hey, we still got eight more games this season.
Yep.
To be played, and 5 of them really
matter the most,
right? And so it's one of those things where it stinks, but I look at it as, wow, what a opportunity to learn from this this disaster that we had on Saturday, and not just players but coaches alike. What an opportunity to have to think about some things. Like I think about the punt, right? And nobody, that happens. It happens. It's football, right? But the decision to punt moving forward in a situation like that, it'd probably be maybe we don't, because it's like, hey, a lot can go wrong with the punt. They could have blocked it and ran it back for a touchdown. Where if you try to just run one more play on the ground, you keep the clock running and just and maybe you get it, maybe you don't, and now there's 70 yards to drive instead of 40 or
41.
You know what I mean? So it makes a big difference in the ball game with 0 timeouts. So again, like I said, what a learning opportunity for us. And then not only that, man, but Dan, I'm smiling because I wasn't smiling a few hours ago, but I'm smiling now because, man, I'm telling you, we had one of the best practices of the year today. I love the way our guys have responded so far. And man, I'm excited. I'm excited moving forward.
That's definitely good to hear from the outside looking in, because a lot of people can wonder a lot of things. You can go down a lot of rabbit holes with all that, with when you lose a football game, things like that. But I guess we could start with DJ Sears had the first touchdown for you guys, ran it in. Then I don't know if it was your second possession or third. You guys kicked a field goal for 25 yards from Carson Saucedo, went up 10-0. They went down and scored to make it 10-7, and then you guys were able to get another score before halftime. Remind me who scored that one.
Was it Scott Grider?
Yeah, it was Scott Grider. He was in the south end zone, and so he scored that one to go up 17-7 at half. They scored in the third quarter, I believe.
Twice.
Yeah, to make it kind of swing the momentum their way.
Yep.
To make it 21-17 at the time. You guys scored early fourth quarter on a Mario Quintero kind of bubble catch, and really just a great effort for him.
Yes.
You know, he's been in that situation so many times, and it's so difficult to catch the ball, keep your footing, and then go and run forward because it's all like happening at the same time.
Right.
That's why so many times when you've run that play, you know, he's having trouble keeping his balance because he's got to adjust to catching the ball wherever it is and then taking off. But a great play from him. Just, you know, the end of the game, we just talked about it, you know, a lot of circumstances. You guys were marching, you know, and you guys were inside the 30, I believe, in their territory, and just a few things that didn't go your way in that situation, and it's amazing how much it can get away from you so quickly.
Yeah, you know, and it did. That's why, you know, when I look at games, I look at them as a whole. Like, and the reality of this game is we played bad in spurts because it wasn't just the last 50 seconds. Because I mean, when we got down 21-17, the very next possession we drive down the field and score, and our guys are like, okay, we need to score now, so you know, let's get it in gear and score. And I think moving forward, you know, the mentality is that is what we have to do. You know, we have to score, we have to stop people. Just you know, just like we scored, you came back right away and we needed to stop, and we got to stop, and was in position to win the football game. And I think when I look at it this is what I see as a coach, and this isn't just coach talk, because Dan, what people are going to realize is I'm one of the most honest people in the world, and sometimes things are bad, or it's just like, hey, this is who we are as a football team, or whatever the case may be. But we're not even close to what we portrayed to be on Saturday.
Sure.
Like we're so much better than that. And I'm not talking about potentially, like we've done it. I've seen it. I see it every day in practice. And so I hope the guys are they feel, you know, relieved. It's a lot of pressure to win week in and week out, you know what I mean? So hopefully our guys are like, hey man, you know, there's no pressure on us. Now we are sitting where we probably should, where people are like, oh yeah, they're third or fourth in their conference. Like, yeah, that's Bethel, you know, but it's not. So I probably shouldn't even be talking about it. I want to keep it a secret and just go and continue to handle our business, because I'm pumped up.
Yeah. So, you have to be in that situation. You have to respond strongly, no matter what it is. To that kind of situation. One thing in the game, you guys, you handed the ball off a lot, and I wanted to know if was the defense for Ottawa, was that because they were forcing DJ to hand off the ball based on reads, or what was that? Because you didn't see DJ run the ball that much. No,
and part of it was, you know, you saw DJ kind of tweak the hammy in the St. Mary game, and so, you know, we didn't want to run them like that again. And that's another thing. We didn't run DJ that many times. Right. You know what I mean? And so it's one of the things, like, why? Why burn them out? You know, why we figured that we still could have an opportunity to win the game. Our backs, we feel like, did a phenomenal job. Our offensive line, receivers blocking downfield, phenomenal job. You know, we felt like we still could control the game and the outcome without, tearing DJ apart this week. Right. And that's what it was. And I think, you know, this next week, you know, we're gonna try to save him as much as we can, because he's gonna have a day where, you know, he runs the ball 25 times or whatever the case may be. So, but, you know, you do it now and run the risk of, you know, him getting injured and he's out for games versus, you know, we've got backs, man. We've got backs. Scott Grider, KJ and Malik Brewer, they all did a great job, man. This game running the ball, You
Right.
know what I mean? So we just, we didn't want to risk too much with DJ, but when it came down to it, we wanted to put the ball in his hands. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Scott had probably his best game of his entire career at Bethel, rushing over maybe to 120 in that game.
Yeah.
So and plus the touchdown in the second quarter. So
yeah.
I mean, he had a pretty good game in that realm. Passing the football, 410 passing, a couple interceptions. One of them, I thought the guy was out of play, to be honest. But one there in the second half as well. Let's see. Receiving, Tucker Smith had a couple good catches out of the slot. He had a really good flag route that I saw in the first half that got you guys going. That was a 38-yarder. And then Mario had the catch for a touchdown. Jaden Serta had a catch for 11 yards in the ball game on 4 completions. And in the rushing realm, yes, Scott had 119 net yardage. DJ rushed for 105. Each of them rushed for a touchdown. So in the football game. So, I mean, when I looked at the stat sheet after the game, I was like, this isn't too much different than what you guys have done in one football game.
Yeah.
And that's what just was kind of mind-blowing to me. And there were times where you guys were marching and just came out empty.
Yeah. We had a fourth down stop in our territory. Was it one or two of those? I know it was one for sure because I'm seeing it in my head.
Yeah.
But again, it's one of those things where we know what we're capable of, and I think when we get going on those drives, more time than not, we're gonna end up in the end zone. At least that's the goal. And for me, it's like, hey man, you go out there and you give it the good old college try, and this week. That good old college try, it didn't pan out. So you go back and you work on that. So we're just working on making sure that college try gives us a better opportunity to pan out.
Absolutely, Coach. One other area I wanted to address with you, and you probably won't be surprised when I say this, so many unwarranted penalties in the game. 2 or 3 unsportsmanlike penalties?
3. And
I know for a fact that's not characteristic of what you lead with your program at all.
Are you sure?
To some degree.
I mean, that's what everybody, that's what people think. One of them, here's the thing too, man. I always go back and I watch the film because it's easy to see penalties and then react and just think of this like, oh man, it's a lot of penalties. We outnumbered them in penalties. We had 12 penalties for over like 108 yards to their 4. And the 3 unsportsmanlike ones, one definitely was blatant, and we got on to that young man like, why do you do that? The other, and I don't I'm not against officials or anything like this. I call right and wrong. The young man had our face mask. He had our face mask, shaking his helmet. You can see it on film, shaking his helmet for a time. Coach yells to the official, he's got our face mask. Our guy goes to knock his hand off of our face mask, and they throw a flag on us. As well. And you see,
was that the one that was on a 4th down play?
No, that wasn't the 4th down play. The 4th down play was the blatant one. Yes. Yeah. You know what I mean? That one was on.
I know who it was.
A punt or something like that.
Yeah.
And then we had another one that was early in the game on a kickoff that was a.
It was a kickoff return for touchdown. Had it
touchdown
stood.
Yep. And that young man, and that's the thing too. Like you tell these guys like to be barbaric, right?
Right.
And then it's like, oh, but you want them to do it with grace and with class. Like, let's smash somebody's face in. And, you know what I mean? Let's run into this guy and try to cause him physical harm, but do it with grace and do it with class. Like, so sometimes it's like, man, when a guy gets a little overzealous, it's just your job to calm him down and just say, hey, we can't do that. Like, not in that moment. And the more you can drill that into him, like, hey, keep it between the whistles, because the problem is not the action, right? It's the timing, which is crazy. So it's funny when you talk about things that are characteristics of a football team. It's like, it's not the action that we're upset about.
Sure.
it's the timing of the action.
Yeah.
That you're upset about, and it's like, man.
Well, I guess just the phrase unsportsmanlike is kind of thrown around there.
Yeah, they use it, but personal foul, unsportsmanlike. One thing though, flagrant. You don't want that, or you don't want any ejections. Which,
right.
If you can stay away from that, man, I think, you're still in the realm of not that it being okay, because I don't condone unsportsmanlike conduct by any means. I'm not defending unsportsmanlike conducts or anything like that. Our team, once we get them, I mean, we do have ramifications for getting penalties and things of that nature. But it's one of those things where, again, like if you have we ever really stopped to think about it? You know what I mean? It'd be like in boxing. You're fighting somebody, bing, 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 and then the bell rings, and then you get a couple more jabs, and it's like, oh, this guy has no class or no character. Really? We're watching two people beat each other brains in.
Yeah. Like,
who has no class and character? So that might be a little too real for the philosophical thought of the week today.
We're too early in the show for that. We usually do it like 75% of the way through.
Yeah. But yes, that's definitely something that we will continue. I think it's ebbs and flows. You just got to continue. You got to work on it on a week by week case. So.
We also saw the consecutive games streak that you guys had where you had an interception in the game come to an end.
We had a lot of streaks come to an end. We won a home winning game streak.
Yep.
You know that?
I mentioned that. I was like, it's for the first time since 2021, Father Abraham was not sung at Thresher Stadium after a Bethel football game.
Yeah. So it was 2021 was the last time?
Yeah, 2021. It was Kansas Wesleyan that year.
That's right. I forgot. I was like, I thought it was sooner than that. Okay, I don't feel that bad. So it was just my streak then.
Yeah, hopefully that's not happening next week though. I mean, with the same opponent from 2 years ago. So.
Oh, damn. Why you got to say that, man? Why you got to say that? Oh, goodness. I blame Dan in advance.
Well, I mean, I'm just echoing the wishes of many. Okay. So there you go. So Jairo Castillo had a sack for you guys in the game. In the tackling side of things, Tate Siebold had 9 tackles, Cade Miller 8, Devontae Pickard 5, and Robin Neely with 5, Garrett Slater with 5. He came up big for you guys. A lot of things you learned from their offense against your defense. They were able to run the ball, which not a lot of teams have been able to do. Especially on the goal line against your guys, and flew a couple. You mentioned baseball error type plays in the defensive secondary last week. There a couple of them happened here, and there you go. I mean, it's the margin for error is so small, and I don't have to preach it to anybody because everyone here knows that. Over the last couple seasons, but it's just, again, you don't even think about it, but you can take one step. Just one step, and be, it could be going against you. Yeah. So.
Yeah. No, defensively, trust me, man. That second half. I think the first half we held them in check pretty good, but that second half, man, they definitely came out, and I think once they got a little momentum, it kind of sparked them, and they were going kind of fast, and we trying to get guys in and out and get guys breaks and things like that, but. I can tell you this, man. That's something that I don't think it's broken. But if you want to call it broken, it's definitely getting fixed and addressed. And not that I have any special powers or anything like that. But my focus definitely is on the defense right now this week, and definitely be down there with the D line. You know what I mean? Just being grittier, a little bit tougher. You know what I mean? And getting in there and causing chaos, man.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of teams can watch that and say, "Oh, we're just going to run no huddle on them."
Absolutely, yep.
And you guys just got to be ready.
We got to be ready. Yep.
Got to be ready for almost anything. It could be 4 receivers split out to one side of the formation.
Believe it or not, we actually practiced that twice today, Dan.
Yeah, I believe you. I believe you. Other scores from the third week of games. That's what I'm going to call it because it wasn't week 3. Right. Southwestern winning 24-3 against Kansas Wesleyan. It's odd when Kansas Wesleyan and Avila are 1-2.
I know.
And you guys 2-1, and then Southwestern 3-0. Friends 3-0.
Evangel 3-0.
Yeah, and I think those are the only 3 left.
Those are the only 3.
Yeah, so anything can happen there.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's a crazy town.
Yeah, it certainly is. And then St. Mary wins at McPherson, knocking off another team from the West that was unbeaten. 36-32. That happened in McPherson.
Yeah.
Friends won at home against Avila 54-20.
Yep.
You could argue they're playing
the best in the conference.
Yeah.
They are.
They are. Performance-wise,
yeah,
they
are,
certainly
for
are.
Sure.
Yeah. Eli Williams, to hold his offense to 20 points is really saying something.
Yes, it is.
And, not many teams did that last year, if at all.
Yeah. Well, it gets hard. What happens is they get up on people pretty quick. Mm-hmm. And then now you're forced to get out of your game plan because you're trying to come back, and you know that you want to score, because if you give them the ball back, that's 6 minutes and a touchdown. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like going off the clock. So. Yeah.
Other games: Sterling falling 55-0 at Evangel. Mm-hmm. It was kind of a slow start.
Yeah.
But Evangel eventually pulled away, and Evangel still hasn't given up. Has only given up 2 touchdowns on the year. One at home, one away.
Wow.
So, yeah, their defense continues to impress.
Yeah.
And then Bethany defeats Tabor 28-17 in Lindsborg. So Bethany, I told people I think Bethany won't. They're going to be really good. They won't be the worst team in the conference.
No.
I 100% believe that. So that kind of wraps up the conference slate from the third week of games in the KCAC. We'll talk a little bit more about that coming up in the second half of the program, but we're going to take a time out here on the Thresher Football Show. Coming up, we're going to preview Bethel versus Avila for 2023. You're watching the Thresher Football Show.
Thresher fans, get ready for the upcoming school year by becoming a member of the Bethel Booster Club. Your membership impacts all athletic programs by paying for experiences last year, such as the Threshbees Award Show, postseason experiences and postseason tickets, the Hall of Fame banquet, enhanced live streaming equipment, new banners in Thresher Gym, equipment for the Gearing Hall weight room, windscreens at Ward Tennis Center, and Thresher Stadium. Be a part of Thresher Athletics history and a booster club that is living out the Bethel College Athletics mission by creating life-changing experiences for our student athletes through 4 levels of membership plus parent and young alumni specials. Athletics is an integral part of the Bethel College experience, and thanks to your support, we look forward to growing our success for the future. Visit BethelThreshers.com/booster club to become a member today.
Welcome back to the Thresher Football Show. Dan Page alongside head football coach of the Threshers, A.B. Stokes. Bethel College 2-1, getting set to take on the Avila University Eagles at 1 o'clock from Kansas City, a place that a lot of your team is familiar with based on last year, and it had been a while before that since you had played there, but some of your upperclassmen, that was the first time they ever even lost to Avila last year up there. And of course they have a stellar quarterback in Eli Williams, and unbelievably they are 1-2 on the year, and so is Kansas Wesleyan, and both of those teams are coming up on the Thresher schedule this week at Avila and then the following week at home against Kansas Wesleyan. But first on the Eagles, Eli Williams, quarterback, what can you not say about the guy? He's very, very talented. He really, really tested your defense last year because he can sit in that pocket and throw it deep or throw it wherever he wants, or he can just take off and go at any moment. He's just, got a little bit of size to him. Yeah,
he's the conference player of the year last year, and so I think our defense, though, last year, man, I honestly think they did a pretty good job of, you're not going to stop a guy like that, you know what I mean? But you can't slow him down a little bit. I think they did. I felt like they did a great job slowing them down. In all transparency, I think our offense has a little bit more of a chip on their shoulder going into this game, because I felt like they held us in check pretty good. I think they shut us out in the second half. Over there, we were up 14-7.
Yep, it was 28-14 was the final.
Yeah, 28-14 was the final. And we actually, I think we gave them that 7 right before half offensively as well.
Yeah, fumbled the ball.
Yeah, so it's it's one of those things where I think, like I said, I think defensively we did a pretty good job for the most part of containing or slowing down or whatever you want to call it. But I know this is a year later. And I know that he's definitely a year better. That they got new coaches, so they're doing some different things over there that complements him really well. But our guys we're just excited to be able to go and play a game that we know it's going to be another competitive week, and this year, if it's a dogfight, we're going to be prepared and ready for it.
Certainly, Coach. The Threshers, again, losing last year 28-14. Before that, it had been 2018 maybe.
2018.
Yep. And so a lot of those guys had yet to lose to Avila at the time. Again, Eli Williams, sophomore quarterback this year. He has completed 54% of his passes for 626 yards, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions on the season. He's rushed for 5 touchdowns and 252 yards on 47 carries. And, the thing is about their team last year, they had a lot of graduate transfers, a part of their squad as well, that really sweetened and enriched what they did last year. Obviously with the different coaching staff this time, we'll see what happens with things. But he's their leading rusher. He's their leading passer. He's a big part of their offense. He's just kind of like what DJ Sears is to your offense in a way.
Yeah, for sure. But, that's this conference, man. I think if you want your offense to go probably anywhere, you want to have a solid quarterback, and they're no different. They've got, one of the best in the conference. And it's definitely going to be an exciting matchup.
Certainly. And some of the other rushers for them, a couple of freshmen and one senior. Freshman, Dale-Sean Coleman, who's rushed for 2 touchdowns. Others like Ross Sharping and Jaquise Watkins, a senior running back for them, that lead the way in that category. In receiving, they have Jaquise Watkins, who can catch and slot and run the football, 13 catches for 68 yards on the season. Robert Brooks III, he has 11 catches for 168 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kareem Chambers, a junior for them, 11 catches for 131 yards. And then Luis Alvarez, a senior wide receiver, 78 yards receiving. And some of their other guys, they don't have a lot of yardage catching, but they, it's like 1 or 2 catches for a 3 or 4 yard touchdown. Mm-hmm. So you got to believe, they might throw the ball when they get close to the goal line versus trying to run it in some situations.
Yeah, I'd imagine teams have been stacking the box against them for sure, thinking that here comes quarterback power or something like that. And so I'm sure they've got a good coaching staff over there. I'm sure they're just taking what they get.
Certainly. We know they have talent on the offensive side of the football, and we know the circumstances with the football game, the longest walk from the locker room to the stadium. You wouldn't think that would be a factor in a game, but it was a little exhausting, I would say, for anybody doing that last year. The years before when we went up there, we were in the gym, which was a little bit closer.
Right.
So interesting factor within that. On the defensive side of the football for Avila, Dennis Johnson, a senior defensive back, has 20 tackles for them, and a couple forced fumble recovery, 3 tackles for loss. Gavin Hembry, a linebacker, 17 tackles. Just kind of looking at just 3 interceptions to their defense. Trayvon Miller with 2 interceptions on the year. And then Terrell Valentine, who has 15 tackles and an interception on the year. So I guess I can present all the numbers that you want from this, but when you guys as a coaching staff sit down and look at Avila, whether it's offensive or defense, what's some of the things that have stuck out to you?
I mean, well, we talked about it. Eli Williams,
right.
What I mean? Eli Williams is somebody that sticks out to us, and he makes their offense go. They're never out of a ball game. They're a scary team. I mean, Southwestern was up on them 49-14 going into the fourth quarter, and I think it ended up being 49-41, if I'm not mistaken.
They can score fast.
They can score fast and in a hurry. And defensively, they've given us some points on the year, but it's the fourth game of the season now. We're expecting them to start to get things figured out. They got a lot of film on us. So it's one of those things where, those are just some of the things that stick out to us and that we're thinking. So
defensively last year, they did a good job of containing DJ Sears. Mm-hmm. That was a big part of their success on defense. They forced him into some situations where if he had to run the ball and it was going to be for a loss in some of those situations, they just kept bringing the pressure. They I'm not going to say names, but they blew up one of your positions blocking quite a bit in that game. Mm-hmm. And obviously you had an injury at that position as well in that game, so it was tough to spring somebody else into that situation.
Right.
But they took advantage of that.
Yeah. That it's funny that you say that, because that's the whole thing that I thought coming out of that game last year was like, man, I wish our guy would have been in the whole game, because it was crucial. But that was then, and now we feel like we're going in. We're relatively healthy, so we're going to be prepared for hopefully whatever they throw at us.
Right, yeah. And you have to think they're going to try to take some of that game plan with them coming into this week's football game. Special teams wise, they seem pretty sound. They didn't have any issues, with snapping, punting, kicking, at least from what I've seen so far, on the season. So, but yeah, just at 1-2, kind of surprising from their standpoint. They're coming off they scored 20 points against Friends and gave up, 50, 60, whatever. I can't remember what it was for sure. Mm-hmm. But it's really surprised me that there was such a huge difference in that margin.
Oh no, not me. I think I said something last week. You'd have to go check the tape.
Well, the game that you won, you were highlighting.
Yeah, that was a huge one. No, I said that was the one that was most interesting to me.
Okay.
Was that one? I said I was interested to see what happened, and it just showed maybe that Sterling had a great week against Mac. So. Or Evangel just plays better at home, which isn't good for us because we play them at their home this year. So, whatever the case may be. So, I'm just working on my KCAC commentating for when I'm done coaching football.
You don't want to do that. Trust me.
But seriously, football, it's different week to week. Teams are new and they're different week to week. So we're just trying to be the best that we can this week, regardless of the margin of victories or defeats or losses or whatever the case may be. From last week, from our team, from their team. Doesn't matter, because this week is the Threshers versus the Eagles, right?
Right.
That's
Eagles.
Right. Yeah, the Threshers versus the Eagles. That's all that matters to this guy. So.
Yeah, I'm just going to point this out there. Last year, they had some size at receiver. We're able to use that to their advantage. Against an All-American defensive back. So I think they're probably going to try to do that once again to some degree when they can. So you have to think about that as a possibility. Yeah,
sometimes, but. Dan, what you got to realize is, man, coaches, and I speak for all coaches here, all right? As a coach, I speak for all coaches. I'm joking, but kind of seriously. Sometimes we think we know best, and we want to do the things that we know and we're comfortable doing. So we've got to trust the film that they provided thus far. We've got to trust that that's what they're going to do. I think if they watched last year's film and then tried to mimic that team, if that's not the team that they are, then they just be asking for disaster. You know what I mean?
Because I don't think it would be too much of a stretch to them to adapt some of that, though.
No, I mean, not a stretch, but it's just one of those things where it's like, if the same coaching staff was there, then I'd probably be more concerned with, okay, this is what they did last year against us. Like right now, I'm more focused on, okay, what have they been doing this year? What have they had success in doing this year? And some of it is, but I mean, if you watched our game last week, and we've given up some deep balls the last two games, so I wouldn't be shocked if they wanted to take a shot for sure.
The proof is in the film there, and you just have to constantly focus about getting better each and every week. So it's the Threshers and the Avila Eagles coming up this week at 1 o'clock from the Z in Kansas City. They're on campus at Avila University, one of their most unique setups in all of college sports, no matter what level it is. Their university right in the middle of the neighborhood. should be an exciting football game. Nonetheless, it's been interesting in years past. And again, another road trip for you guys. You're taking quite a few this year, whether it was Leavenworth 2 weeks ago, Kansas City, Nixa, Missouri at the end of the regular season. The Threshers going to be tested there on the road quite a bit. Some stats on the Eagles as a team. They average close to 400 yards of offense, 208 through the air, and 180 on the ground in yardage per contest, 35 points per game. Their defense has given up 42 points per football game so far. That's something of interest. 484 total, but most of that rushing, 280 yards allowed per game on the ground and 205 through the air. So, thinking about that, and I know these are just numbers and things like that. We mentioned them ahead of last week's game too, and it doesn't matter until you put on the pads and play the game.
Right.
So just things to be thinking about within that at the same time. So should be interesting for this week's game against the Avila Eagles. Looking at some of the other conference games for this week, one that I think we'll be paying attention to in Salina, Kansas Wesleyan at home against Friends. There's a coaching staff there that hasn't beat Kansas Wesleyan, and really, really eager to do so. I would definitely wager, and they want to see where they're at, get an accurate measurement of where they're at, being tested and playing a team like that. And so Friends will be at Kansas Wesleyan. Southwestern is at Tabor. Who knows what could happen there, honestly. We mentioned last week Coach Gardner's a good coach. Yeah. And at Tabor at home in that football game, they hung with Evangel. And so
that's true.
And
that's true.
So, you got to believe that Tabor has a solid defense.
Yeah.
Sterling is at home against Bethany this week. That'll be interesting to watch from Smizer Stadium in Sterling. Ottawa at home against McPherson. No doubt the Braves will be buzzing going into that one.
Oh, yeah.
Back at home against the Bulldogs. That just refreshed their entire season.
Yes,
this last week.
You're welcome.
Coach
Davis, you're welcome.
I have no doubt he'll take it. St. Mary at home against Evangel. So Evangel taking a long road trip to Leavenworth. So
yeah. It's probably how far is that? Because it's both. They're both. That's the east side of Kansas and the southwest Missouri. So
yeah.
It may not be
northeast Kansas to southwest Missouri. Who knows? It could be shorter or longer than what we think. Yeah. But definitely be interesting. So that's the conference dockets for this week. And a lot of good games. Still a lot of football to be played for the conference. With this setup, the conference is just beating each other up. Yeah. It's just like the NFL out there. It's like there's a very likely chance that the winner of whatever both divisions is going to have one loss.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more likely than not, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
At this rate, I mean, so many things have happened. Yes, there's 2 teams receiving votes in the latest polls and 2 teams ranked in the top 25. But you could argue that there could be a lot more than that.
Yeah, for sure. I think it should, but I'm just a coach.
Yeah, we haven't figured out how this whole thing works at this level of football. It's yeah, it is. It'll stump you time and time again.
Right.
So at the NAIA level, just thinking about the conference schedule in the KCAC, we won't throw out standings or anything like that quite yet. But one division has 3 undefeated teams still in it, and that's your division in the Kessinger division between Evangel, Southwestern, and Friends University.
And so we got three undefeated teams, 2 one-loss teams, and then Bethany won a game. So
1 and 2.
So we have 0 teams that are winless.
No
wins. Right, that are winless. Yeah.
Yeah, and you could argue
cool beans.
Some of the better teams in the other division already have 2 losses.
Yeah.
So it's just it's a little chaotic compared to what we would think in previous years in the conference, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
So, so Well, Coach, I mean, you guys have played almost a fourth of your season already. Obviously, there are things that you can get better at. You understand some of the things that you are good at. But at this point, I mean, you said you like to grade by quarters, things like that. You know, what quarter of the season?
Yeah, quarter's over.
Where do you? What's your assessment so far?
Man, I think we're still growing into the team that we're going to be. You know, in mid to late October, I think we're closer. I think we're closer than we were at around this time last year to being the team that we're going to be. Even with the loss, I know you can say, well, you didn't have a loss last year. Well, it's a new year, you know,
right.
New challenges. I think we're closer to being that team, and you know, I know this for a fact. Our guys, you know, there's a lot of season left, and our guys know it. That's where we're at.
Yeah. So. And the conference, I think, is better this year.
Yeah, the conference is definitely
far
better.
More competitive.
Definitely better, and it's good. It's good, and then, you know, when it comes to, I guess, the rankings and beating each other up, it doesn't seem too good. But it's a good thing, because I know this, that the teams that get out and make it to the national tournament this year, they're going to be battle tested, and we should be. Hopefully, we're seeing some KCAC teams win playoff games this year, and hopefully it's us.
Yeah, it's been a while since the KCAC won a playoff game. Yeah, I mean, I guess Kansas Wesleyan did, but that was because of a forfeit when they got to Indiana.
Well, then the year before that.
Yeah, and then they had 2019, I think, is the last conference playoff win in the NAI playoffs. So.
Oh wow.
2019.
Yeah.
So
I guess
other than Kansas Wesleyan advancing because of a forfeit,
right,
is what I'll say.
Well, I guess the lack of respect is merited. Then I guess we gotta win games, man.
Yeah,
gotta win games.
Yeah, there are sometimes you think, and I'm gonna say this word, and you don't have to say it, but there is maybe some insensitivity there. So from the national recognition of our conference, specifically. So, well, Coach, that's gonna wrap up our program. Any final thoughts before we get into this one?
Yes.
I know you want.
Yes. Listen, I thought about, now that's something that went through my head last week. I was like, I didn't say it. Dang it, I didn't say it. Hey, I love God, my family, and Bethel College. Let's go, Dan.
And your wife.
Yeah, my wife. Of course, I love my wife, man.
You have to say that.
I say my family, my wife and my family. Right? Love God, my wife and family, and Bethel College. Let's go.
Yeah. So, you know, all of a sudden, your aura has changed.
Yeah.
If we thought about that stuff, because I have no idea what I'm talking about. Alrighty, well, before we get too hysterical, we're going to wrap up the program here. Hey, thanks, folks, for watching. Hope you drive safe. You're going to go to Kansas City. If not, you know, there's a great announcer for Avila that's going to get you covered for that one, and I definitely know he's a professional, so he'll treat you well, and, you know, you never know what you get with conference road games as far as pronunciations and things like that, so you should be in good hands this week. I'll just give you a heads up on that. But for Coach A.B. Stokes, I'm Dan Page. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and roll on.